US President Donald Trump has claimed that Iran is very interested in reaching a deal with the United States, even as tensions continue to escalate across the Middle East and negotiations remain uncertain. Speaking through a post on Truth Social, Donald Trump insisted that despite criticism from both the Democrats and some Republicans, diplomatic efforts with Tehran are moving in the right direction and would ultimately succeed. He argued that constant political commentary was making negotiations more difficult, saying that opponents were chirping with contradictory demands about whether he should move faster, slower, or even towards war. Still, he projected confidence that the situation would resolve positively, urging the public to remain patient and saying that the outcomes like this always work out in the end. And at the same time, the broader geopolitical situation remains highly volatile. And according to the reports, the United States military has carried out strikes on Iranian-linked military positions, following what are described as hostile Iranian actions, including incidents involving drones and threats to the maritime security in the regional waters. The U.S. Central Command said that it targeted air defense systems, a ground control facility, and other military assets, while also reaffirming that American forces would continue operations in order to protect personnel and shipping routes. In response, Iran's Revolutionary Guards claimed that they had retaliated by striking a U.S. base, though they did not confirm which one, and regional allies of both the sides have been drawn into the escalating cycle of attacks. The confrontation has unfolded alongside a fragile ceasefire arrangement that has failed to fully stabilize the region. Missile and drone activity has reportedly spread into the nearby countries, including interceptions over Kuwait, while tensions linked to the maritime routes such as the Strait of Hormuz continue to disrupt global energy markets. The conflict, which intensified after a series of strikes involving the United States and Israel earlier this year, has already resulted in significant casualties and widespread regional instability. And despite this backdrop, diplomatic negotiations between Washington and Tehran are still technically ongoing but remain deeply stalled. And the core dispute centers on Iran's nuclear program, particularly its stockpile of highly enriched uranium, which the United States wants secretly, strictly limited to prevent any path towards weaponization. Iran, however, continues to deny any intention of developing nuclear weapons and insists that its sovereign rights must be respected in any agreement. Iranian officials, including negotiator Mohammad Ghalibaf, have warned that no deal will be accepted unless Tehran's conditions are fully met and trust in U.S. commitments is established. Behind the scenes, proposals reportedly discussed in Washington include a temporary ceasefire window, steps towards reopening critical shipping routes like the Strait of Hormuz, and a framework for easing sanctions in exchange for nuclear restrictions. However, multiple rounds of talks have ended without a breakthrough. U.S. officials have emphasized that any agreement must guarantee Iran does not acquire nuclear weapons, while Iranian representatives have pushed for immediate sanctions relief and the access to the frozen assets abroad. Well, the regional dimension is also intensifying the crisis as Israel leadership under Benjamin Netanyahu has expanded military operations in neighboring Lebanon amid ongoing clashes with Hezbollah and Iran-backed group, further complicating diplomatic efforts. Meanwhile, U.S. officials, including Secretary of State Marco Rubio, have reportedly engaged with regional leaders in Lebanon and Israel in attempts to explore gradual de-escalation strategies. The fighting has continued despite earlier truce efforts, and as the negotiations drag on without resolution, both the sides continue to signal openness to diplomacy while simultaneously preparing for further escalation if the talks fail. Donald Trump's public messaging remains confident and optimistic, but on the ground, the situation reflects a fragile balance between the limited cooperation and sustained confrontation, with the outcome of any potential deal still uncertain and heavily dependent on unresolved nuclear, sanctions, and regional security disputes. That's all for now. Stay tuned to this Vera for more updates. Do like, comment, and subscribe to the channel.